Hello and welcome to another episode of Freedom Talks. So I am Debbie Lichter and founder of Free from Food Addiction, the Congruence Code, and Freedom Embodied Live. And today we are talking about why your self-sabotage might be a really good thing. So I want you to just consider the last time you maybe did something self-sabotaging. Maybe you stayed up really, really late. I know I did that recently. Maybe it was overeating something, or maybe it was binging on Netflix. Just take a moment and just pull up in your memory what your most recent self-sabotaging pattern has been, or maybe like what a big theme for you has been over the years of where you tend to just take that detour from whatever path you really want to be on at the end of the day. And let's just talk about that. So here's just what's been so fascinating is I've really become a student of the journey that I've been on, and also the journey that my clients have been on, and just the thousands of folks that I've been speaking to over the last nearly decade of really talking to a lot of high achievers, talking to people who are on a spiritual path, and hearing some of the commonalities. What I have, hi Ian, so good to see you. What I have realized is that we have these, there's three primary voices of sabotage that typically one of our sabotage patterns will fall into one of these three areas. And so I just want you to listen for maybe the pattern or the patterns that you relate to here. So, and I'm sure we can, at times, we've related to all of them. I know I personally can relate to every single one of them. So the first pattern that we look at, or the first pattern that I really, really hear a lot is the tantrum voice. So the tantrum voice is like, I want what I want. I deserve this. So think about that. It's like, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I deserve this. I want to have what I want. And it's that part of you that just doesn't want to do it the way you're supposed to do it. You just want to do it your way. You deserve this. Maybe you've given everything to everyone else. This is your time. This is for you. So this is the part of you that feels really defiant, like, I just want this. So if you relate to the tantrum voice, just post a comment here. And so that's the tantrum voice. And it's a very very clear voice, but it's sometimes subtle. All these voices are sometimes subtle. Like maybe you're not overtly thinking it, maybe you are, but just kind of notice if that voice ever happens for you. I want a treat. I deserve some pleasure. I deserve some fun. I don't want to do it your way. I want to do it my way. Any of that kind of stuff. That's the tantrum voice. Okay. So the next voice is the victim voice. So the victim voice is saying, I'm just always going to have to deal with this. It's just always going to be like this. And, there's just something wrong with me, and whatever, why try? Why bother? I'm just going to do it the way that I've always done it. So it's that sort of defeated voice. And, there might be times in your life where it's just felt like, what is the point? What's the point? What's the use? I'm just going to have to deal with this forever. So why even put myself through trying to do something differently, because it's always going to wind up here. I'm just going to, be right where I am and just be resigned to the status quo. Okay. So that's the victim voice. So just notice again, I know no one wants to ever admit that they have a victim voice. Hey, Ron, good to see you. No one ever wants to admit that. But we all have that. It's one of the primary archetypal energies that moves through all of us. We all have a child, we all have a victim, we all have this stuff, we all just have it. So there's oftentimes a part of us that is just that way. And it's, it's a part that's kind of got the self-pity thing going on, like, this is happening to me and it's not fair. And, it's somebody else's fault, or it's not my fault, or whatever it is, but it's just that, it's that kind of energy. Okay. Or maybe it is my fault and that's part of the problem. I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy. It's all that stuff. Okay, so then we have the third sabotage voice. And the third sabotage voice, this one is so sneaky. This one is so sneaky. This sabotage voice is the rational voice. The rational voice. So the other voices are kind of like, it's this, or I feel this, you know, but then the rational voice sounds so believable, right? It's like so believable. So good. Oh, awesome. I love that you're being honest about that. Yeah, of course. If you're relating to the victim voice, then you gotta put that victim to it, or just put a number 2 or whatever it is. Yeah. So number 3, this rational voice. So the rational voice says, I just don't have time for this right now. I need to, or this is another classic one, I need to first, and then just fill in the blank. I need to first take care of these other things or these other people. I need to first get this organized. I need to first do this before I can actually go and do that. So maybe you've got a goal of getting in shape. You know, we're coming towards the end of the year, and you know, the new year is kind of, you know, not too far away. And so maybe you've got a goal of losing weight and getting in shape, you know, and so it's like, well, you know, I have to first take care of these things. Well, I know, or hey, I'm resigned to it, right? I know I'm just going to be eating my way through the holidays, and that's just how it's going to be. And so why even try to do it any differently? It's just always going to be like this, or I deserve this. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to have my fruit cake pudding or whatever you have, whatever desserts you have at holidays, you know, and all these things can come up, right? And so that rational voice, it sounds so true, it sounds so believable, but what it's doing is it's going into the mind to kind of find a justification or a reason to stay put, to not actually do things differently. And so each one of these voices can sound so believable. Hi, Patty. But what are they doing to us? Well, yes, they are holding us back in a certain way, right? They're kind of like pulling back. But here is why, if you have any of these things going on, if you can relate to any of this stuff, and who can't relate to any of this stuff, right? I mean, these are common, these are archetypal, right? You know, we can't take this stuff personally. These are just patterns that pop up with all of us. The reason why this is good news is because, drum roll, right? No, is because they are all signs that you are actually right on the precipice of stepping into a more congruent, authentic, freer version of you. You're like right there. You're right there. I was just speaking with a woman earlier this week, Chris, and you might actually be pop on. You might listen to this. But she was saying, God, I feel like I'm like right there. Like I'm right there. And how many of you feel like you're just right there? Just put a comment post a comment saying, I'm right there. I feel that. I'm just right there. It's like you're at the precipice. And then what happens when we're almost there is that all of our stuff, all of the fears, it's scary. It's scary, you know? That little inner boy or inner girl inside of us is like, it's scary in here, you know? And so then our patterns come up. I was speaking with a client earlier this week, and, you know, and we were talking about this very thing. We were talking about the phenomenon of this isn't a sign that you just are never going to get this and there's something wrong with you and all that kind of stuff. This is a sign that you are actually evolving and you're stepping into things, and you're just on the other side of moving through this is actually a freer, fuller, more fulfilled version of you. And so what do we need? So this is what happens. So if you kind of like, so if you realize that that's what's going on there, yes, 3, 2, we're getting lots of numbers here. 2, 3, we're kind of relating to all of it. Good. So the way that happens, the reason why we go into these patterns is because the mental construct that is living in the current paradigm that we're in looks in its toolkit and looks for, hey, okay, I got some fear going on, I got some doubt going on, I got some, like, I don't know, some not trusting what's around the corner stuff going on. I don't know what's happening in here. And so I'm going to reach into my toolkit and I'm going to pull out some of these tools. And some of the tools are, I'm just going to defy, or I'm going to feel defeated, or I'm going to rationalize myself out of really stepping into that next place. And that's the best that it can do. And it's so darn believable in the moment. I mean, it is so believable, right? When you're in that moment, if you are, for any of my Netflix binge watching friends here, that moment when you're getting to the end of an episode, you're like, I know I shouldn't be watching this. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I have to watch that next thing. Shoot, I don't care. I'll go for another hour, whatever. I'll sleep in a little bit, or I'll get to work a little bit late. It's okay. We kind of start making all these justifications, right? So in the moment, it's so darn believable and it's so darn convenient, isn't it? Because it just keeps us just at that like 80% mark or that 90% mark where we just like things are really, really good, but we're just not actually stepping into that next place for ourselves. And so what we do, all of these patterns, they're creating it's like the short-term comfort, right? The short-term comfort. So there's like, that feels kind of scary, I don't know. And then like the short-term comfort comes in there and it's like, okay, I can calm down. My nervous system can calm down because it gets a little bit nerve-wracking, right? We get a little bit nervous. So it's like, okay, now I can feel in control. Now I feel like I'm in better control because I just created the short-term comfort. And the short-term comfort might be a donut. It might be another episode of Netflix. It might be doing whatever you do late night when you're staying up late. It might be whatever your pattern is. It might be, texting that one person, or what your pattern is. You know what your pattern is. Shopping, like social media, whatever the thing is. But the question that I have for you is, do you want the short-term comfort, or do you want the long-term freedom? Do you want the long-term freedom? Because if you want the long-term freedom, then we need a new set of tools. And that's great news. That's really, really great news, because everything, all the tools that you have got you to where you are right now. And that's great. You're doing pretty well in life. If you're on this, it means you got a computer or a smartphone or something, like you're doing pretty well than most of the population of the entire world. But for you, if you know deep inside that you are cutting yourself short because there's a next level of freedom, of authenticity, of enjoyment, of pleasure, of connection, of meaning, of all that yumminess, of love that you are here to experience, then it can feel really hard. It can feel really uncomfortable to stay where you are. And so we need to be willing to have the short-term discomfort. Because let me tell you, when you step into, when I started doing Facebook Lives, for example, I would get all this nervousness and all this stuff coming up. And I would get those feelings of anxiety and like my heart pounding and all this kind of stuff. But I knew on the other side of it, I'm like, I know that there's a deeper part of me that knows that I get to have a freer, fuller, more authentic expression and help more people if I'm able to move through this. And so sometimes it does get a little bit uncomfortable, but then you move through it, you step through it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I feel more comfortable being me now. I feel like I can exhale. I feel freer. I feel unencumbered. I just moved through a threshold. And so what I want to help you with today is how to move through that threshold, what you need, the new set of tools that you need in order to move through that threshold. So if you are resonating with this, if you are relating with this, and you are wanting to move through your own threshold, then just put threshold in the comments. I want to just know if you're with me right now. And then pull out a piece of paper and take some notes here, because this is gonna be important for you. So the first thing is that you've got to reframe your story. So the story of defiance or defeat or rationalization or justification or doubt or whatever that thing is, like that is that circumstance. It's that circumstance, like this is happening to me, or this just is not something I can do. Like there's this story that is wrapped up with it. And maybe you're not even totally aware of the story, because when you're in that sabotage mode, it happens so quickly. It's almost like you're not even thinking. You just sort of like go into the pattern. And you don't even realize that actually underneath that pattern is an entire story. But if you just freeze frame one of those sabotage patterns, and then you consider to yourself, what is the story I'm telling myself about that? You will probably find that there is an entire story that goes with that pattern. An entire belief, an entire justification, like a whole thing that goes with that. Sometimes even an entire identity, actually. And so we've got to go from that story into a new experience of possibility and play. So here's where I want you to take off the hat of this is how it's been, and I want you to put on the hat of the adventurer, of the hero or the shero. So think like, you know, Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, or think Frodo in Lord of the Rings. You know, you're kind of like, you're setting out on your adventure, and this is your journey. And I'll just share this little piece with you, because we're really talking about, you know, the hero's journey. We're talking about this classic archetypal hero's myth, hero's journey that Joseph Campbell, you know, coined. But we see it in all of our pop culture, and if you go to any major movie, every single movie follows this arc for the most part. That you know, of the hero. Most movies, right? Those big blockbusters, they usually follow this arc. And initially what you always have in that is you always have like what's called like the refusal of the call. Like the hero or shero will be called into action, and the very first thing they'll do is be like, no thanks, I don't want to do it. That's okay. I'm going to be over here, and I'm just going to stay in this sort of you know, perceived safety and familiarity right now. And that's okay. Pass me by, go to the next hero. And sometimes, and so we can see that in our own lives, right? We're like, okay, yeah, I know I'm being called for something bigger, but you know what? I think I will start that tomorrow, you know? And so that's actually a step on the path. That is not you not being on the path. That is a step on the path. So again, the reframe allows you to see that as a step on the path, and not as you just being like, oh, cool, good, diverted that one. All right, next, please. So first of all, you just gotta get that piece. But secondly, just understand that you are now setting out on an adventure. This is an adventure that is going to bring you to a more congruent, more authentic, more fulfilled version of you, more connected version of you, more centered version of you, more purpose-filled version of you. And along the way, along your path, you are going to gain tools, new tools. You're going to gain new insights. You're going to gain special powers. You're going to gain the things that you need, new resources. You're going to gain the things that you need that are going to give you the courage and the strength that you need to move past the stuff that is blocking you right now and launch yourself into a new experience of freedom and authenticity, where you get to come home to a truer, fuller, more congruent version of you. And this is, right, this is the classic story, right? I mean, you can think of the Dorothy from Wizard of Oz. I mean, her journey literally is to come back home. It's to come back home. And in one way, we get to come back home to a deeper, richer experience of ourselves. That is this deep path of the hero or the shiro. And so that reframe is so, so important. And then along that path, you know, you have that reframe and you see that your whole story is actually one of adventure and not one of accident or of, you know, like circumstance, right? And so that just is a different change. But then what do you need? What does every hero need? So every hero needs a guide, right? So think Gandalf or think Glinda the Good Witch, right? So, you know, they need someone to come in, someone to illuminate the path for them, someone to show them what's possible, to put it out there and to say, hey, there is this status quo thing that's happening. And, you know, in Dorothy's case, it's like you're living in a black and white world. You're not fully living. There's opportunity for you to step into the technicolor of your life. Are you open to doing that? Are you open to having that? And it's a powerful question, right? And so we get to be on that journey. We get to be on that path. And so that is a huge, huge piece. And so to know that you don't have to figure it out on your own, to know that part of your path is to align with a guide, with a mentor, with someone who can illuminate the path for you. That is so, so important. Every single hero or shiro needs that. And the third piece is that you need to bring friends. So every single hero or shiro on their path of adventure always has a cohort. They never do it alone. They never do it alone. And so it is so important for you to not do it alone, for you to surround yourself with a group of people who get you, who you can be real with, who can hold you in your moments or most vulnerable moments, and who can also bring you up when you're feeling down, who can reconnect you to your why, and who can just be people to share the experience with. You need that. You need that. I mean, this is so much, this whole theme is so much about why I created the Freedom Embodied Live event anyway, because it's like, you know, we all have this deep call. We all have this call that's bringing us, wanting us to go to that next level. And we need some inspiration. We need some new tools for that. Because otherwise, if we're just sitting there on our own, we're going to continue to use the same old tools. So we need new tools. And we really need to know, like, what is the path that's going to be able to get me there? I need some guidance and direction. So I'm not just like, I mean, it's like, I want to go somewhere new, but yeah, no, I don't have a map and I don't have a compass and I don't really know where I'm going. So like, okay, well, it's really hard to get somewhere new. So we need to have that sense of direction. And then we absolutely don't want to do it alone. And so that's why I love to bring community together. That's why I love to bring the collective together. We are so much stronger as a collective. And so, you know, that is why I create that. And if you're coming to the event, then you'll experience that. And if you're not, then why not? I will leave a link below if you think that you still might want to come. Sorry guys, this particular one is just for women, but I would love to do one that is co-ed, because I think that this is like so needed for men, maybe even more needed for men. And so that is really what I want to share with you today, about how to move through this pattern of sabotage and why the sabotage is actually a good thing. So here's the reframe for you, just to you know, sum it up. The reframe is that sabotage is not a sign that you're never going to get this, or that you're always going to have this, or that, you know, something's just wrong with you and, you know, keep you in that place. It's actually a sign that you're just ready for a new way, for new tools, for a new way of being, for new support, for new direction. You're just ready for that. You're teed up for it. So if you are not able to come to the event and you are not a woman and you want support with that still, I want to support you with that. And so I will also just post a link here if you want to just hop on a quick call, and we can maybe just talk a little bit about where you're at and support you. I can just support you with just like 1 or 2 tools that can maybe move you past that like toggle point, because that's what I find. We're kind of like, so many people have like this toggle point. And if you're coming to the event, you can book a session with me too, because they'll just help you get even more out of the event. So I will post that in the comment section below. And I would love, love, love to know, what was your biggest aha from today? So if you would like to just post that, definitely share what your biggest aha was. Share this with a friend who you think could use this message. This message, I feel like, really needs to get out to a lot of people, because a lot of folks are holding back and staying stuck in their sabotage patterns and feeling like, because they're staying stuck in their sabotage patterns, that that's the best that they're ever going to get and they're never going to get past them. And I hope that you got some hope in this training today, because there's a lot of hope here. There's a lot of light and goodness that is coming from this conversation and from the possibility that you're going to create when you take the action that we talked about today. So thank you again for tuning in. It was such an honor to be here with you. I will read through some of the comments here. Yep, binge watching. We're getting some comments. Yep, absolutely. We're all kind of in it together. We all have these patterns. So thanks again, and I will connect more with you soon next time. Bye for now. Mwah.